music coming out of. There's still music coming out of me. All right. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Thank you. And welcome to another Red Books Day. Yeah. We are so happy to have you here commemorating all there is to commemorate on Red Books Day, and there is so much to recognize. Whether this is your first Red Books Day or your sixth, you are part of an international day of action, and you are one of thousands of people around the world who are taking time out of your day to celebrate the left literature that moves us, that informs our work, that spurs us to action, that makes us better equipped to understand our conditions better, and to help others do the same. But while we are full of celebratory spirit today, we also recognize the very sober beginnings of this day. It actually emerged at a moment when comrades in India were being targeted by the right, with left bookstores, authors, publishers, and texts all facing brutal repression. And an Indian communist leader, Govind Pansare, was actually assassinated for his work and impact. And we can still see this repression today, of course, especially as students and organizers are being silenced for their advocacy for Palestine. In fact, one of the books that we distribute, which is a coloring book called From the River to the Sea, which was written by a South African artist in solidarity with Palestine, was actually recently cited as evidence for raiding the Jerusalem Educational Bookshop and arresting its owners. And so, of course, Malcolm X, born 100 years ago, was also assassinated on Red Books Day on this very day, 40 years ago, prematurely silencing a voice that resonated with so many working and oppressed people all over the world, and thus threatening the system and people that oppress us to this day. But today, as we honor Malcolm X and remember all of the unjust attacks on left books and spaces, we also recommit ourselves to building the struggle while strengthening solidarity and internationalism. We commit ourselves to the unyielding fight for liberation, not as history, but as a present and urgent task. And so while there is so much to remember, there's also so much to celebrate in our movements. February 21 was actually chosen as Red Books Day because it is the publication day of the Communist Manifesto, one of the most widely translated texts in the world. You can actually see every year we put up all of the covers from all over the world, all on our walls. And it's a text that has informed and inspired so many people's movements. Thousands of people today are actually reading the text in celebration of Red Books Day. They're studying it together in solidarity with the left books that we know and love. Today is also the birthday of Claudia Jones, who is, yeah, give it up for her. We celebrated her work last year, but if you haven't heard of her before, she is a fearless Black communist leader and writer who was actually also targeted in her lifetime for her political work and exiled by the US to the UK. And also, it is the birthday of Nina Simone. The iconic jazz musician who fought racism, sexism, colorism in the music industry to become a legend of the genre that we remember today. And we will be honoring her as well tonight following the reading with a performance. So Red Books Day every year is so monumental because we have so much to cherish, so much to remember, so much to fight for. And because this year the People's Forum is celebrating 100 years of Malcolm X in 2025, tonight we will be reading from the speeches he made in the last few years of his life. They are the Ballot or the Bullet, Message to the Grassroots, The Oppressed Masses Cry Out for Action Against the Common Oppressor, and a speech at the founding rally of the Organization of Afro-American Unity. Malcolm X's name is ubiquitous around the world, and we remember his legacy as a fighter for Black liberation, as an organizer, and as an internationalist. But above all, he was also a person who was in constant political development, challenging himself and others to develop their perspectives on their conditions. He took to reading and struggle at a level that we should all take inspiration from. And at this stage of his life, he had traveled all over the world. And actually, if on the TVs around the space, you can actually see one of our comrades assembled a timeline of all of the places that he went. And this was a transformative experience for him. And as you hear the speeches, you'll find that it becomes impossible to separate the anti-colonial struggles he witnessed from the plight of Black people and other oppressed peoples in the United States. He references the Bandung Conference, Vietnam, the Congo, Egypt, and so many more anti-colonial struggles. And if you haven't heard of these before, I encourage you all to write them down, look them up, because all of this is an invitation for further study. And so he grounds us as a fervent internationalist who clearly saw the connections between the struggles of working people here and abroad, and offers us so many lessons and questions for our work today. And so that's enough for me. Don't forget, throughout the event, we'll still be screen printing a little bit. There's still wine and beer at the bar. And if you feel like reading one of the excerpts, you can totally find me, and I think we have a few slots open if you're interested. And of course, you should stick around for the concert that will be happening afterwards. We'll have performances from Brandon Lopez and Cleo Reed, who have graciously contributed their talents to honoring Malcolm and Nina tonight. And finally, I just want to thank you all for being here, and thank yourself for making the commitment to read books and the practice of studying for liberation. I hope you take everything you read and learn today to the streets, to your family, to your friends, so that we all might clearly understand our path forward. And so that I'll begin. The Ballot or the Bullet, April 3rd, 1964, in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm not here tonight to discuss my religion. I'm not here to try and change your religion. I'm not here to argue or discuss anything that we differ about, because it's time for us to submerge our differences and realize that it is best for us to first see that we have the same problem, a common problem, a problem that will make you catch hell whether you're a Baptist or a Methodist or a Muslim or a nationalist. Whether you're educated or illiterate, whether you live on the boulevard or in the alley, you're going to catch hell just like I am. We're all in the same boat, and we are all going to catch the same hell from the same man. He just happens to be a white man. All of us have suffered here in this country political oppression at the hands of the white man, economic exploitation at the hands of the white man, and social degradation at the hands of the white man. Now, in speaking like this, it doesn't mean that we're anti-white, but it does mean we're anti-exploitation, we're anti-degradation, we're anti-oppression. And if the white man doesn't want us to be anti-him, let him stop oppressing and exploiting and degrading us. Whether we are Christians or Muslims or nationalists or agnostics or atheists, we must first learn to forget our differences. If we have differences, let us differ in the closet. When we come out front, let us not have anything to argue about until we get finished arguing with the man. If we don't do something real soon, I think you'll have to agree that we're going to be forced either to use the ballot or the bullet. It's one or the other in 1964. It isn't that time is running out. Time has run out.
Don't let anybody tell you anything about the odds being against you. If they draft you, they send you to Korea and make you face 800 million Chinese. If you can be brave over there, you can be brave right here. These odds aren't as great as those odds. And if you fight here, you will at least know what you're fighting for. I'm not a politician, not even a student of politics. In fact, I'm not a student of much of anything. I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, and I don't even consider myself an American. All right. If you and I were Americans, there'd be no problem. Well, I am one who doesn't believe in deluding myself. I'm not going to sit at your table and watch you eat with nothing on my plate and call myself a diner. Sitting at the table doesn't make you a diner unless you eat some of what's at that plate. Being here in America doesn't make you an American. Being born here in America doesn't make you an American. Why? If birth made you an American, you wouldn't need any legislation. You wouldn't need any amendments to live in the Constitution. You wouldn't be faced with civil rights filibustering in Washington, D.C. right now. They don't have to pass civil rights legislation to make a Polish person an American. No, I'm not an American. I'm one of 22 million black people who are the victims of Americanism. One of the 22 million black people who are the victims of democracy. Nothing but disguised hypocrisy. So, I'm not standing here speaking to you as an American, or a patriot, or a flag saluter, or a flag waver. No, not I. I'm speaking as a victim of this American system, and I see America through the eyes of the victim. I don't see any American dream, I see an American nightmare. So it's time in 1964 and 2025 to wake up And when you see them coming up with that kind of conspiracy, let them know your eyes are open, and let them know you something else that's wide open too. It's got to be the ballot, the ballot or the bullet. If you're afraid to use an expression like that, you should get on out of this country. You should get back in the cotton patch. You should get back in the alley. They're going to get all the Negro vote, and after they get it, the Negro gets nothing in return. All they did when they got to Washington was give a few big Negroes big jobs. Those big Negroes didn't need big jobs. They already had jobs. That's camouflage. That's trickery. That's treachery. Window dressing. I'm not trying to knock out the Democrats for the Republicans. We'll get to them in a minute. But it's true. You put the Democrats first, and the Democrats put you last.
In the North, they do it a different way. They have a system that's known as gerrymandering, whatever that means. It means when Negroes become too heavily concentrated in a certain area and begin to gain too much political power, the white man comes along and changes the district lines. You may say, why do you keep saying white man? Because it's the white man who does it. I haven't ever seen any Negro changing any lines. They don't let him get near the line. It's the white man who does this. And usually, it's the white man who grins at you the most and pats you on the back and is supposed to be your friend. He may be friendly, but he's not your friend. So, what I'm trying to impress upon you, in essence, is this. You and I in America are faced not with a segregationist conspiracy, we're faced with a government conspiracy. Everyone who's filibustering is a senator. That's the government. Everyone who's finagling in Washington, D.C. is a congressman. That's the government. You don't have anybody putting blocks in your path but people who are part of the government. The same government that you go abroad to fight for and die for is the government that is in a conspiracy to deprive you of your voting rights, deprive you of your economic opportunities, deprive you of decent housing, deprive you of decent education. You don't need to go to the employer alone. It is the government itself, the government of America, that is responsible for the oppression and exploitation and degradation of black people in this country. And you should drop it in their lap. This government has failed the Negro. This so-called democracy has failed the Negro. And all these white liberals have definitely failed the Negro. So, where do we go from here? First, we need some friends. We need some new allies. The entire civil rights struggle needs a new interpretation, a broader interpretation. We need to look at this civil rights thing from another angle, from the inside as well as from the outside. To those of us whose philosophy is black nationalism, the only way you can get involved in the civil rights struggle is by giving it a new interpretation. That old interpretation excluded us. It kept us out. So, we're giving a new interpretation to the civil rights struggle, an interpretation that will enable us to come to it, to come into it, take part in it. And these handkerchief heads who have been dilly-dallying and pussyfooting and compromising, we don't intend to let them pussyfoot and dilly-dally and compromise any longer.
Now, who is it that opposes you in carrying out the law? The police department itself, with police dogs and clubs. Whenever you demonstrate against segregation, whether it is segregated education, segregated housing, or anything else, the law is on your side. And anyone who stands in the way is not in the law any longer. They are breaking the law. They are not representatives of the law. Anytime you demonstrate against segregation and a man has the audacity to put a police dog on you kill that dog. Kill him. I'm telling you, kill that dog. I say it, if they put me in jail tomorrow, kill that dog. Then you'll put a stop to it. Now, if these white people in here don't want to see that kind of action, get down and tell the mayor to tell the police department to pull the dogs in. That's all you have to do. If you don't do it, someone else will. If you don't take this kind of stand, your little children will grow up and look at you and think, shame. If you don't take an uncompromising stand, I don't mean go out and get violent, but at the same time, you should never be nonviolent unless you run into some nonviolence. I'm nonviolent with those who are nonviolent with me. But when you drop that violence on me, then you've made me go insane. And I'm not responsible for what I do. Anytime you know you're within the law, within your legal right, within your moral right, in accordance with justice, then die for what you believe in. But don't die alone. Let your dying be reciprocal. This is what is meant by equality. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Uncle Sam's hands are dripping with blood the blood of the black man in this country. He's the earth's #1 hypocrite. He has the audacity, yes, he has, imagine him posing as the leader of the free world. Right? The free world. And you're over here singing, "We shall overcome." Expand the civil rights struggle to the level of human rights. Take it into the United Nations, where our African brothers can throw their weight on our side, where our Asian brothers can throw their weight on our side, where our Latin American brothers can throw their weight on our side, and where 800 million Chinese are sitting there waiting to throw their weight on our side. Let the world know how bloody his hands are. Let the world know the hypocrisy that's practiced over here. Let it be the ballot or the bullet. Let him know that it must be the ballot or the bullet.
Message to the Grassroots. December 10th, 1963, Detroit, Michigan. We want to have just an off-the-cuff chat between you and me, us. We want to talk right down to earth in a language that everybody here can easily understand. We all agree tonight, all of the speakers have agreed, that America has a very serious problem. Not only does America have a very serious problem, but our people have a very serious problem. America's problem is us. We're her problem. And the only reason she has a problem is she doesn't want us here. And every time you look at yourself, be you black, brown, red, or yellow, a so-called Negro, you represent a person who poses such a serious problem for America because you're not wanted. And once you face this as a fact, then you can start plotting a course that will make you appear intelligent instead of unintelligent. What you and I need to learn to do is to forget our differences. When we come together, we don't come together as Baptists or Methodists. You don't catch hell because you're a Baptist, and you don't catch hell because you're a Methodist. You don't catch hell because you're a Methodist or a Baptist. You don't catch hell because you're a Democrat or a Republican. You don't catch hell because you're a Mason or an Elk. And you sure don't catch hell because you're an American. Because if you was an American, you wouldn't catch no hell. You catch hell because you're a black man. You catch hell, all of us catch hell for the same reason. We have a common enemy. We have this in common. We have a common oppressor, a common exploiter, and a common discriminator. But once we all realize that we have this common enemy, then we unite on the basis of what we have in common. And what we have foremost in common is that enemy, the white man. He's an enemy to all of us. And I know that some of you think that some of them ain't enemies, but time will tell. In Bandung, back in, I think, 1954, was the first unity meeting in centuries of Black people. And once you study what happened at the Bandung Conference and the results of the Bandung Conference, it actually serves as a model of the same procedure that you and I can use to get our problems solved. At Bandung, all of the nations came together. There were dark nations from Africa and Asia. Some of them were Buddhists, some of them were Muslim, some of them were Christians, some of them were Confucianists, some were atheists. And despite the religious differences, they came together. Some were communists, some were socialists, some were capitalists. And despite their economic and political differences, they came together. All of them were Black, brown, red, or yellow. And the number one thing that was not allowed at the Bandung Conference was the white man. He couldn't come. And once they excluded the white man, they found that they could get together. And once they kept them out, everybody else fell right in line. And this is the thing that you and I have to understand. And these people who came together, they didn't have nuclear weapons. They didn't have jet planes. They didn't have all of the heavy armaments that the white man has. But they had unity.
They were able to submerge their petty differences and agree on one thing, that though one African came from Kenya and was being colonized by the Englishmen, and another African came from Congo and was being colonized by the Belgian, and another African came from Guinea and was being colonized by the French, and another came from Angola and was being colonized by the Portuguese, when they came to the Bandung Conference, they looked at the Portuguese and at the Frenchmen and at the Englishmen and at the other Dutchmen and learned or realized that that one thing that all of them had in common: they were all from Europe. They were all Europeans, blonde, blue-eyed, and white-skinned. They began to recognize who their enemy was. The same man that was colonizing our people in Kenya was colonizing our people in Congo. The same one in Congo was colonizing our people in South Africa and in southern Rhodesia and in Burma and in India and in Afghanistan and in Pakistan. They realized all over the world where the dark man was being oppressed, he was being oppressed by the white man, and where the dark man was being exploited, he was being exploited by the white man. So they got together under this basis, that they had one common enemy. And when you and I here in Detroit and in Michigan and in America who've been awakened today and look around us, we too realize here in America we all have a common enemy, whether he's in Georgia or Michigan, whether he's in California or New York. Instead of airing our differences in public, we have to realize we are all the same family. And when you have a family squabble, you don't get out on the sidewalk. If you do, everybody calls you uncouth, unrefined, uncivilized, savage. If you don't make it at home, you settle it at home. If you get in the closet, argue it out behind closed doors. And then when you come out on the street, you pose a common front, a united front. And this is what we need to do in the community and in the city and in the state.
First, what is a revolution? Sometimes I'm inclined to believe that many of our people are using this word revolution loosely, without taking careful consideration of what this word actually means and what its historic characteristics are. When you study the historic nature of revolutions, the motive of a revolution, the objective of a revolution, and the result of a revolution, and the methods used in a revolution, you may change words. You may devise another program. You may change your goal, and you may change your mind. Look at the American Revolution of 1776. That revolution was for what? For land. What did they want? Land, independence. How was it carried out? Bloodshed. Number one, it was based on land, the basis of independence. And the only way they could get it was bloodshed. The French Revolution, what was it based on? The landless against the landlord. What was it for? Land. How did they get it? Bloodshed. Was no love lost, was no compromise, was no negotiation. I'm telling you, you don't know what a revolution is. Because when you find out what it is, you'll get back in the alley. You'll get out of the way. The Russian Revolution, what was it based on? Land. The landless against the landlord. How did they bring it about? Bloodshed. You haven't got a revolution that doesn't involve bloodshed. And you're afraid to bleed. I said you're afraid to bleed. As long as the white man sent you to Korea, you bled. He sent you to Germany. You bled. He sent you to the South Pacific to fight the Japanese. You bled. You bleed for white people. But when it comes time to seeing your own churches being bombed and little black girls being murdered, you haven't got no blood. You bleed when the white man says bleed. You bite when the white man says bite. And you bark when the white man says bark. I hate to say this about us, but it's true. How are you going to be nonviolent in Mississippi as violent as you were in Korea? How can you justify being nonviolent in Mississippi and Alabama when your churches are being bombed and your little girls are being murdered? And at the same time, you're going to violent with Hitler and Tojo and somebody that you don't even know? If violence is wrong in America, violence is wrong abroad. If it's wrong to be violent defending black women and black children and black babies and black men, then it's wrong for America to draft us and make us violent abroad in defense of her. And if it is right for America to draft us and to teach us how to be violent in defense of her, then it is right for you and me to do whatever is necessary to defend our own people right here in this country.
Of all our studies, history is the best qualified to reward our research. And when you see that you've got problems, all you have to do is examine the historic method used all over the world by others who have problems similar to yours. And once you see how they got theirs straight, then you know how you can get yours straight. There's been a revolution, a black revolution, going on in Africa. In Kenya, the Mau Mau were revolutionaries. They were the ones who made the word uhuru, Kenyan word for freedom. They were the ones who brought it to the fore. The Mau Mau, they were revolutionaries. They believed in scorched earth. They knocked everything aside that got in their way, and their revolution also was based on land, a desire for land. In Algeria, the northern part of Africa, a revolution took place. The Algerians were revolutionists. They wanted land. France offered to let them be integrated into France. They told France, to hell with France. They wanted some land, not some France. And they engaged in a bloody battle. So I cite these various revolutions, brothers and sisters, to show you, you don't have a peaceful revolution. You don't have a turn the other cheek revolution. There is no such thing as a nonviolent revolution. The only kind of revolution that's nonviolent is the Negro Revolution. The only revolution based on loving your enemy is the Negro Revolution. The only revolution in which the goal is a desegregated lunch counter, a desegregated theater, a desegregated park, and a desegregated public toilet you can sit down next to white folks on the toilet. That's no revolution. Revolution is based on land. Land is the basis of all independence. Land is the basis of freedom, justice, and equality. The white man knows what a revolution is. He knows that the black revolution is worldwide in scope and in nature. The black revolution is sweeping Asia, sweeping Africa, is rearing its head in Latin America. The Cuban Revolution, that's a revolution. They overturned the system. Revolution is in Asia. Revolution is in Africa. And the white man is screaming because he sees revolution in Latin America. How do you think he'll react to you when you learn what a real revolution is? You don't know what a revolution is. If you did, you wouldn't use that word. A revolution is bloody. Revolution is hostile. Revolution knows no compromise. Revolution overturns and destroys everything that gets in its way. And you, sitting around here like a knot on the wall saying, I'm going to love these folks no matter how much they hate me. No, you need a revolution. Whoever heard of a revolution where they lock arms, as Reverend Cleage once was pointing out beautifully, singing, "We shall overcome"? Just tell me. You don't do that in a revolution. You don't do any singing. You're too busy swinging. It's based on land. A revolution wants land so he can set up his own nation, an independent nation.
The oppressed masses cry out for action against the common oppressor. February 11, 1965, at the London School of Economics. Where the government fails to protect the Negro, he is entitled to do it himself. He is within his rights. I have found the only white elements who do not want this advice given to undefensive black people are the racist liberals. They use the press to project us in the image of violence. There is an element of whites who are nothing but cold, animalistic racists. That element is the one that controls or has strong influence in the power structure. It uses the press skillfully to feed statistics to the public to make it appear that the rate of crime in the black community or community of non-white people is at such a high level. It gives the impression or the image that everyone in that community is criminal. And as soon as the public accepts the fact that the dark-skinned community consists largely of criminals or people who are dirty, then it makes it possible for the power structure to set up a police-state system, which will make it permissible in the minds of even the well-meaning white public for them to come in and use all kinds of police methods to brutally suppress the struggle on the part of these people against segregation, discrimination, and other acts that are unleashed against them that are absolutely unjust. They use the press to set up this police state, and they use the press to make the white public accept whatever they do to the dark-skinned public. They do that here in London right now with the constant reference to the West Indian population and the Asian population having a high rate of crime or having a tendency towards dirtiness. They have all kinds of negative characteristics that they project to make the white public draw back or to make the white public be apathetic when police state-like methods are used in these areas to suppress the people's honest and just struggle against discrimination and other forms of segregation.
A good example of how they do it in New York. Last summer, when black people were rioting, the riots actually, they weren't riots in the first place. They were reactions against police brutality. And when the Afro-Americans reacted against the brutal measures that were executed against them by the police, the press all over the world projected them as rioters. When the store windows were broken in the black community, immediately it was made to appear that this was being done not by the people who were reacting over civil rights violations, but they gave them the impression that these were hoodlums, vagrants, criminals who wanted nothing other than to get into the stores and take the merchandise. But this is wrong. In America, the black community in which we live is not owned by us. The landlord is white, the merchant is white. In fact, the entire economy of the black community in the States is controlled by someone who doesn't even live there. The property that we live in is owned by someone else. The store that we trade in is operated by someone else. And these are the people who suck the economic blood of our community. And being in a position to suck the economic blood of our community, they control the radio programs that cater to us. They control the newspapers, the advertisings that cater to us. They control our minds. They end up controlling our civic organizations. They end up controlling us economically, politically, socially, mentally, and every other kind of way. They suck our blood like vultures. And when you see black people react, since the people who do this aren't there, they react against their property. The property is the only thing that's there, and they destroy it. And you get the impression over here that because they're destroying the property where they live, that they're destroying their own property. No, they can't get to the man, so they get at what he owns. This doesn't say it's intelligent, but who ever heard of a sociological explosion that was done intelligently and politely? And this is what you're trying to make the black man do. You're trying to make him drive into a ghetto and make him the victim of every kind of unjust condition imaginable. Then when he explodes, you want him to explode politely. You want him to explode according to someone's ground rules. Why? You're dealing with the wrong man. You're dealing with him at the wrong time and in the wrong way.
Another example of how this imagery is mastered at the international level is the recent situation in the Congo. Here we have an example of planes dropping bombs on defenseless African villages. When a bomb is dropped on an African village, there's no way of defending the people from the bomb. The bomb doesn't make a distinction between men and women. That bomb is dropped on men, women, children, and babies. Now, it has not been in any way a disguised fact that planes have been dropping bombs on Congolese villages all during the summer. There is no outcry, there is no concern, there is no sympathy. There is no urge on the part of even the so-called progressive movement to try and bring a halt to this mass murder. Why? Because all the press had to do was use that shrewd propaganda word that these villages were in rebel-held territory. Rebel-held. What does that mean? That's an enemy. So anything that they do to those people is all right. You cease to think of the women and the children and the babies in the so-called rebel-held territory as human beings. So that anything that is done to them is done with justification. And the progressives, the liberals, don't even make any outcry. They sit there twiddling their thumbs as if they were captivated by this press imagery that has been mastered here in the West also. They refer to the pilots that are dropping the bombs on these babies as American-trained, anti-Castro Cuban pilots. As long as they are American-trained, this is supposed to put a stamp of approval on it, because America is your ally. As long as they are anti-Castro Cubans, since Castro is supposed to be a monster and these pilots are against Castro, anybody else they are against is also all right. So the American planes and the American bombs being piloted by American-trained pilots, dropping American bombs on black people, black babies, black children, destroying them completely, which is nothing but mass murder, goes absolutely unnoticed. They take this man to 𝚱𝚘𝚘𝚔𝚜, I guess he's a man, and try and make him acceptable to the public by using the press to refer to him as the only one who can unite the Congo. Imagine a murderer, not an ordinary murderer, a murderer of a prime minister, the murderer of the rightful prime minister of the Congo, and yet they want to force him upon the people of the Congo through Western manipulation and Western pressures. The United States, the country that I come from, pays his salary. They openly admit that they pay his salary. And in saying this, I don't want you to think that I come here to make an anti-American speech. I wouldn't come here for that. I come here to make a speech to tell you the truth. And if the truth is anti-American, then blame the truth. Don't blame me.
𝚱𝚘𝚘𝚔𝚜 is propped up by American dollars. The salaries of the hired killers from South Africa that he uses to kill innocent Congolese are paid by American dollars, which means that I come from a country that is busily sending the Peace Corps to Nigeria while sending hired killers to the Congo. The government is not consistent. Something is not right here. And it starts some of my African brothers and sisters that have been so happy to see the Peace Corps landing on their shores to take another look at a thing and see what it really is. Peace Corps, get a piece of their country. So what the press does with its skillful ability to create this imagery, it uses its pages to whip up this hysteria in the white public. And as soon as the hysteria of the white public reaches the proper degree, they will begin to work on the sympathy of the white public. And once the sympathy of reaches the proper degree, they will put forth their program, knowing that they are going to get the support of the gullible white public in whatever they do. And what they are going to do is criminal. And what they are doing is criminal. Well, there will come a time when 𝚱𝚘𝚘𝚔𝚜 won't be able to recruit any more mercenaries, and the Western powers, who are really behind him, will then have to commit their own troops openly. Which means then you will be bogged down in the Congo the same way you're bogged down over there in South Vietnam. And you can't win in the Congo. If you can't win in South Vietnam, you know you can't win in the Congo. You think you can win in South Vietnam? The French were deeply entrenched. The French were deeply entrenched in Vietnam for hundreds of years or so. They had the best weapons of warfare, a highly mechanized army, everything that you would need. And the guerrillas come out of the rice paddies with nothing but sneakers on and a rifle and a bowl of rice. Nothing but gym shoes, tennis shoes, and a rifle and a bowl of rice. And you know what they did in Dien Bien Phu? They ran the French out of there. And if the French were deeply entrenched and couldn't stay there, then how do you think someone else is going to stay there who isn't even there yet? Yes, all of them are brothers. They had a bowl of rice and a rifle and some shoes. I don't care whether they came from China or South Vietnam. The French aren't there anymore. We don't care how they did it. They're not there anymore. The same thing will happen in the Congo. See, the African Revolution must proceed onward, and one of the reasons that the Western powers are fighting so hard and are trying to cloud the issue of the Congo is that it's not a humanitarian project. It's not a feeling or a sense of humanity that makes them want to go in and save some hostages, but there are bigger stakes.
I might point out right here and now, and I say this bluntly, that you have had a generation of Africans who actually believe that they could negotiate, and eventually get some kind of independence. But you're getting a new generation that is being born right now, and they're beginning to think with their own mind and see that you can't negotiate upon freedom nowadays. If something is yours by right, then you fight for it or shut up. If you can't fight for it, then forget it. So we in the West have a stake in the African Revolution. We have a stake for this reason. As long as the African continent was dominated by enemies, and as long as it is dominated by colonial powers, those colonial powers were enemies of the African people. They were enemies to the African continent. They meant the African people no good. They did the African people no good. They did the African continent no good. And then in the position that they were the ones who created the image of the African continent and the African people. They created that continent and those people in a negative image. And then they projected this negative image abroad. They projected an image of Africa and the people abroad that was very hateful, extremely hateful. And because it was hateful, there are over 100 million of us of African heritage in the West who looked at that hateful image and didn't want to be identified with it. We shunned it, and not because it was something to be shunned, but we believed the image that had been created of our own homeland by the enemy of our own homeland. And in hating that image, we ended up hating ourselves without even realizing it. Why? Because once we in the West were made to hate Africa and hate the African, why the chain reaction effect was it had to make us end up hating ourselves. You can't hate the roots of the tree without hating the tree, without end up hating the tree. You can't hate your origin without end up hating yourself. You can't hate the land, your motherland, the place you came from, and we can't hate Africa without ending up hating ourselves. And the whole world thinks that America's race problem is being solved, when actually the masses of Black people in America are still living in the ghettos and the slums. They are the victims of inferior housing. They are still the victims of a segregated school system, which gives them inferior education. They are still victims after they get that inferior education, where they can only get the worst form of jobs. And they do this very skillfully to keep us trapped. They know that as long as they keep us undereducated or with an inferior education, it's impossible for us to compete with them for job openings. And as long as we can't compete with them and get a decent job, we're trapped. We're low-wage earners. We have to live in a rundown neighborhood, which means our children go to inferior schools. They get an inferior education, and when they grow up, they fall right into the same cycle again. This is the American way. This is the American democracy that she tries to sell the whole world as being that which will solve the problems of other people too. It is the worst form of hypocrisy that has ever been practiced by any government or society anywhere on this earth since the beginning of time.
Africa is emerging. It's making the Black man in the Western Hemisphere militant. It's making him shift from negative to positive in his image of himself and in his confidence in himself. He sees himself as a new man. He's beginning to identify himself with new forces, whereas in the past, he thought of his problem as one of civil rights, which made it a domestic issue, which kept it confined to the jurisdiction of the United States, a jurisdiction in which he could only seek the aid of white liberals within continental United States. Today, the black man in the Western Hemisphere, especially in the United States, is beginning to see where his problem is not one of civil rights, but it is rather one of human rights. And that, in the human rights context, it becomes an international issue. It ceases to be a Negro problem. It ceases to be an American problem. It becomes a human problem, a problem of human rights, a problem of humanity, a problem for the world. And by shifting his entire position from civil rights to human rights, he puts it on the world stage and makes it possible, where today he no more has to rely on only the white liberals within continental United States to be his supporters. But he brings it into the world stage and makes it possible for all of our African brothers, our Asian brothers, our Latin American brothers, and those people in Europe, some of whom claim to mean right, also to step into the picture and do whatever it is necessary to help us see that our rights are guaranteed us, not sometime in the long future, but almost immediately. So the basic difference between the struggle of the black man in the Western Hemisphere today from the past, he has a new sense of identity, he has a new sense of dignity, and he has a new sense of urgency. And above all else, he sees now that he has allies. He sees that the brothers on the African continent who have emerged and gotten independent states can see that they have an obligation to the lost brother who went astray and then found himself today in a foreign land. They are obligated. They are just as obligated to the brother who's gone away as they are to the brother who's still at home. And just as you see the oppressed people all over the world today getting together, the black people in the West are also seeing that they are oppressed. Instead of just calling themselves an oppressed minority in the States, they are a part of the oppressed masses of people all over the world today who are crying out for action against the common oppressor.
Malcolm X's speech at the founding rally of the Organization of Afro-American Unity, June 28, 1964, Harlem, New York City. Recently, when I was blessed to make a religious pilgrimage to the holy city of Mecca, where I met many people from all over the world, plus spent many weeks in Africa trying to broaden my scope and get more of an open mind to look at the problem as it actually is, one of the things that I realized, and I realized this even before going over there, was that our African brothers have gained their independence faster than you and I here in America have. They've also gained recognition and respect as human beings much faster than you and I. Just 10 years ago on the African continent, our people were colonized. They were suffering all forms of colonization, oppression, exploitation, degradation, humiliation, discrimination, and every other kind of Asian. And in a short time, they have gained more independence, more recognition, more respect as human beings than you and I have. And you and I live in a country which is supposed to be the citadel of education, freedom, justice, democracy, and all of those other pretty sounding words. So it was our intention to try and find out what it was our African brothers were doing to get results, so that you and I can study what they had done and perhaps gain from that study or benefit from their experiences. And my traveling over there was designed to help find out how.
One of the first things that the independent African nations did was to form an organization called the Organization of African Unity. The organization consists of all independent African states who have reached the agreement to submerge all differences and combine their efforts toward eliminating from the continent of Africa colonialism and all its vestiges of oppression and exploitation being suffered by African people. Those who form the Organization of African States have differences. They represent probably every segment, every type of thinking. You have some leaders that are considered Uncle Toms, some leaders who are considered very militant, But even the militant African leaders were able to sit down at the same table with the African leaders whom they considered to be Toms or Thombis, or that type of character. They forgot their differences for the sole purpose of bringing benefit to the whole. And whenever you find people who can't forget their differences, then they're more interested in their personal aims and objectives than they are in the conditions as a whole. Well, the African leaders showed their maturity by doing what the American white man said couldn't be done. Because if you recall, when it was mentioned that these African states were going to meet in Addis Ababa, all of the Western press began to spread the propaganda that they didn't have enough didn't have enough in common to come together and to sit down together. Why? They had Nkrumah there, one of the most militant of the African leaders, and they had Adiola from the Congo, they had Inrere, they had Ben Bella, they had Nasser, they had Sekou Touré, they had Obe, they had Kenyatta. I guess Kenyatta was there. I can't remember whether Kenya was independent at the time, but I think he was there. Everyone was there. And despite their differences, they were able to sit down and form what was known as the Organization of African Unity, which has formed a coalition and is working in conjunction with each other to fight a common enemy. Once we saw what they were able to do, we determined to try and do the same thing here in America among Afro-Americans who have been divided by our enemies. So we have formed an organization known as the Organization of Afro-American Unity, which has the same aim and objective: to fight whoever gets in our way, to bring about the complete independence of people of African descent here in the Western Hemisphere, and first here in the United States, and bring about the freedom of those people by any means necessary. By any means necessary. Can I get a by any means necessary? Thank you. That's our motto. We want freedom by any means necessary. We want justice by any means necessary. We want equality by any means necessary. We don't feel that in 1964, living in a country that's supposedly based upon freedom and supposedly the leader of the free world, we don't think that we should have to sit around and wait for some segregationist congressmen and senators and a president from Texas in Washington, D.C. to make up their minds that our people are due now some degree of civil rights. No, we want it now, or we don't think anybody should have it.
You and I want to create an organization that will give us so much power we can sit down and do as we please. Once we sit down and think as we please, speak as we please, and do as we please, we will show people what pleases us. And what pleases us won't always please them. So you got to get some power before you can be yourself. Do you understand that? You got to get some power before you can be yourself. Once you get power and you be yourself, why, you're gone. You got it and gone. You create a new society and make some heaven right here on this earth. And we're going to start here tonight when we open up our membership books into the Organization of Afro-American Unity. I'm going to buy the first memberships myself. One for me, my wife, Attila, Quabilla. These are my daughters, Ilyasa, and something else I expect to get either this week or next week. As I told you before, if it's a boy, I'm going to name him Lumumba, the greatest black man who ever walked the African continent. He didn't fear anybody. He had those people so scared they had to kill him. They couldn't buy him. They couldn't frighten him. They couldn't reach him. Why, he told the king of Belgium, man, you may let us free. You may have given us our independence, but we can never forget these scars. The greatest speech, you should take that speech and tack it up over your door. This is what Lumumba said. You aren't giving us anything. Why, can you take back these scars that you put on our bodies? Can you give us back the limbs that you cut off while you were here? No. You should never forget what that man did to you. And you bear the scars of the same kind of colonization and oppression, not on your body, but in your brain, in your heart, in your soul, right now.
Let's give it up for all of our readers again tonight. It's beautiful to see how packed the house is to celebrate Malcolm's life and his legacy. We still have more in the program tonight. We're going to be having 2 beautiful musical performances, but they'd have to do a little sound check, so we'll be taking a brief break, which means it's the perfect opportunity to get a drink, to let all of these messages sit, and you get a chance to process them, because what else can we say? And these speeches are excerpts, they're excerpts of excerpts. They're mere tastes of what the whole speeches were. And so if you found these beautiful, you should definitely read the whole speeches. You should definitely listen to him say them. You can find some of them at the front. We have a beautiful display of books for today. But this is a little bit of a chance to mill around, but don't leave yet, because we still have to honor Miss Nina Simone. And so I hope to see you in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes? I don't know. But thank you again so much, and thank you to everyone who read, and thank you to everyone who listened.
Are you ready? Let us remember what we're asking for. What we're asking for. Let us remember. 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 Can you turn that one down? Just a little bit. Can you just turn it down a little bit? Can you turn that one down? Let us remember. Just a little bit. Can you just turn it down a little bit? Can you turn that one down? Let us remember. Just a little bit. Can you turn it down a little bit? Let us remember.
Awesome. All right. Hello, everybody. Oh, thanks. All right. We are about to get started again with our amazing musical performance. But first of all, let me introduce myself. That's rude. That's rude. My name is 𝙱𝚘𝚘𝚔𝚜. I'm part of the education team here at the People's Forum. Hello, hello. Hi. And I wanted to talk a little bit about our upcoming course that we have on the Black liberation struggle that I want to invite you all to. We just heard a lot of words from our dear comrade Malcolm, and what stuck out to me most is, of course, his urgency, his unyielding commitment to struggle, his internationalism, his understanding of the moment, his analysis of the capitalist and imperialist system, and the clear understanding that these systems will never bring us true and full liberation, and that the only way we will ever get true and full liberation is through the overturning of these systems and the creation of something new. So if you allow me, I want to go back to something that he said. Can I go back to something that he said? All right. So Brother Malcolm said, of all our studies, history is best qualified to reward our research. And when you see that you've got problems, all you have to do is examine the historic method used all over the world by others who have problems similar to yours. And once you see how they get theirs straight, then you know how you can get yours straight. So Brother Malcolm in this is letting us know, reminding us of the importance of study, and the importance of not just study to know things and to recite things like a Wikipedia article, but the importance of study to understand our moment and to understand clearly how we could bring about revolution. And we don't have to just look across the world. We don't have to look in the different countries of the world. We could look to our very own history in the United States. We could look to the history and the legacy of the Black revolutionary struggle and the lessons that it leaves for us today. So with that, I want to invite you to our free 6-week course, like I said, free 6-week course. It's called Our Freedom Can't Wait, The Struggle for Black Liberation, Past and Present. It is a free course that starts next Thursday on February 27th, and it meets Tuesdays and Thursdays of each week. And we'll begin by, gaining the theoretical tools to study capitalism, and to then understand how, and to look at the various expressions of the Black freedom struggle in the US and in the world. So you could register. Literally, it's in like 6 days, so it's gonna be so good, you guys. It's gonna be so good. The instructors are amazing, and like I said, it's gonna be free. So go to peoplesforum.org/freedom, or you can see any of us TPS staff, and we'll gladly talk to you more about it. And yeah, it's Tuesdays and Thursdays, and even if you can't join every single class, you could sign up, you'll get access to the recordings, and you could revisit them anytime you would like. So with that, I'm very excited to welcome welcome these beautiful musicians and to celebrate our good sister, our good comrade, our singer, songwriter, composer, a revolutionary, a jazz extraordinaire, Nina Simone, who very famously said that we never talked about men or clothes. It was always Marx, Lenin, and revolution, real girls talk. So with that, I'm excited for us to study and honor the legacy of Nina Simone. I'm excited to welcome bassist Brandon Lopez and sound composer, performer, and multidisciplinary artist Cleo Reed, which I can't find where you're at, Cleo. There's Cleo. Give it up for them. Y'all could do a little bit better than that. Give it up for Cleo and Brandon. Keep it going. Come on, keep it going. One more. Amazing. Thank you so much, Brandon. Woo, thank you. Oh, that was so nice. All right, now we're excited to welcome 𝚱𝚘, who will be doing a musical performance in tribute to Nina Simone. Give another round of applause. Come on. You need a mic? Okay.
Hi, everybody. How you doing? My name is 𝚱𝚘. Please give it up for Brandon one more time. Brandon doesn't know this, but the first time I saw them perform, it was one of the most memorable performances and impactful I had ever seen in my life. So I'm very happy to be here. You might be wondering why we're up here at the same time. It is because I really wanted to do a communal rendition of a Nina Simone record. So we're gonna do I Wish That I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free. Our way, on this fine day. On this fine. Oh, our way. Oh, I wish that I knew. Oh, I wish that I knew. Oh, I wish that I knew. How it feels to be. How it feels to be free. I wish I could just break all the chains that's keeping us divided. I wish I could just hold all of the things I'm relaxed. I'd be starting anew. Oh, I wish that I knew how it feels to be free. I wish I could just break all the chains that even us divided. I wish I could just post all of the things that I think when I'm relaxed. I'd be starting and you'd see, 'cause I know how it feels. And I sing, 'cause I know how it feels. Then I sing, 'cause I know how it feels to be free. And I sing, 'cause I know how it feels to be free. Cause I know, and I I've been writing a lot of songs about labor. I've decided a couple years ago that I was going to make that the focus of my life for several reasons, or my public life. And this is a song that I wrote about being a horse or being a mule. And it's called Always the Horse, Never the Jockey. So I hope you enjoy it. Oh, fuck me. In the booty. I woke up in spite of fear. I woke up in spite of fear. I didn't ask to be here. I woke up in spite of fear. I didn't ask to be here. Trouble taking this one slow. Could you put some reverb on my Set my speed, it's time to go. I woke up in spite of fear. asked to be here. I woke up in spite of fear. I woke up in spite of fear. I didn't ask to be here. I woke up in spite of fear. I didn't ask to be here. Trouble taking this one slow. Set my speed, it's time to go. Will I win the race? I glide on the asphalt. My hooves are worn down. Can you blame me for resisting? Can you blame me for resisting? Can you blame me? Can you say that? Can you blame me for resisting? Can you blame me for resisting? Can you blame me I said, can you blame me? I said, can you blame me? Can you blame me for resisting? 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 I'm shaking my tail. I'm here till the show's off. I'm a show off. I'm the prettiest horse in your side, so why don't you let me get it up and ride? Will I win the race? I glide on the asphalt. I wanna touch grass. Can you blame me? Can you blame me for it? Sing! Can you blame me? Can you blame me? Can you blame me for resisting? Can you blame me for resisting? Let us remember what we're asking for. No need to perform. Let us remember what we're asking for. No need to perform. Let us remember what we're asking for. No need to perform. Who's keeping score? Let us remember. Let us remember. Let us remember what we're asking for. No need to perform. Who's keeping score? it's so, I think me dropping my guitar is really old, and I think I went a little like, got a little bit more punk than I anticipated, but we rolled with it. And it was great. I'm gonna do one more song. This song is about drinking after work. Louder. I mean, at this point. No, seriously. As a child, I watched my mom, as a single mom, work until 1 in the morning and be the last person to pick me up from school, and then go back to work, and then work all night, and then take me to a bar, basically twice a week for about 5 years of my life. And so I dedicate this song to the workers of the world on this fine day, on Red Books Day, in commemoration of Malcolm X, and also just rad, just super, this is just crazy. Andy and Simone, and I'm very grateful. This is what I wrote this song for. I wrote this song for you all, so I dedicate this song to you all. Grass, 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 grass ain't. Oh. I'm in an odd tuning, sorry. No, some songs just like, girl, I'm DIY, but I'm not that DIY. You feel me? You feel me? I need to turn it down, I think. Can you turn it up in the guitar and the monitor? Ooh, not that hot, not that hot. The grass ain't greener and the fare ain't cheap. Give me salt and lime in the land of the free. Haze in the air getting harder to breathe. The grass ain't greener and the fare ain't cheap. Give me salt and lime in the land of the free. Hands in the air getting harder to breathe. Tonight every drink's on me. Check never cleared, who cares? I'm teeth. Trade a little pleasure for the center of the ring. Newsflash, I'm the king of the hill on a complaint campaign. Cut a rug, I done enough of playing buttercup. Saddle up, they out of luck, I short them $20. Oh, wow, white collar crimes on the company dime. Couldn't catch a break on company time. Life on the clock's like eating with your eyes. My fine God, go for a hike. More brown liquor, I chase my pain. I'm bitter by the hour, I state my claims. I'm hanging by a nail, my body's on a scale, and work is really jail. The grass ain't greener and the fare ain't cheap. Give me salt and lime in the land of the free. Haze in the air getting harder to breathe. I'm always good for leading my life out of sequence and I'm always good for leading my life out of sequence in search of a sequel, 'cause y'all just the B-roll. Always good for leading, kicking and screaming, ranks and achievements. My bi-weekly's decent. Always good for leading. Always good for leading. The syndication runs a nation full of movie stars, and that eagle turns you gold no matter where you are. I sell my passion for ration at your local bar. Come on, come on, come on. The syndication runs a nation full of movie stars, and that eagle turns you gold no matter where you are. I sell my passion for a ration at your local bar. Come on, come on, come on. I said tonight every drink's on me. I said tonight every drink's on me, yeah. I said tonight every drink's on me. Check never cleared, who cares? I'm cheat. I trade a little pleasure for the center of the ring. And I'm charging everything. White collar crimes on the company dime, and I couldn't catch a break on company time. Life on the clock's like eating with your eyes. I might find God, I might go for a hug. More brown liquor, I chase my pain. I'm bitter by the hour, I stayed my claims. I'm hanging by a nail, my body's on scale, and work is really jail. I'm always good for leading. I'm always good for leading. I'm always good for leading my life out of sequence in search of a sequel, 'cause y'all just the B-roll. I'm always good for leaving, kicking and screaming, ranks and achievements. My bi-weekly's decent. Said my bi-weekly's decent. Always good for leading. I'm always good for being individual. I'm always good for putting myself first. I'm always good for putting my black queer ass first. You see, the grass ain't greener, the fare ain't cheap. Give me salt and lime in the land of the free. Haze in the air, getting harder to breathe. Oh. I would like for you all to join me in song. I would like for you all to join me in song. The words are, haze in the air, getting harder to breathe. Haze in the air, getting harder to breathe. Haze in the air, getting harder to breathe. Haze in the air, getting faster. Haze in the air, getting harder to breathe. Haze in the air, getting harder to breathe. Haze in the air, getting harder to breathe. Haze in the air, getting I really want to thank Jalen, Hannah for calling me. Everyone here at TPF and everyone has been just so sweet and encouraging. You know, we're all learning, and I'm just now, I was so like insular with these particular pieces of music, and I'm starting to share this with the world, and it was really important for me to be in this kind of setting. So thank you so much, everyone. And also shout out Brandon. I feel like he left, but you know, shout out Brandon.
All right, thank you so much for joining us for Red Books Day. Ow, ow. All right, we wish we could hang out with you all night long. However, we do need to clean, so I invite you to make your way towards the front and come visit us again tomorrow at 10 a.m. Wow.